Yes guys, welcome from me. We've got another CM0102 video, and this is more of an updated version of Regens. We have done this before, but it was so long ago it's probably filtered down on the video list, and there might be somebody out there that wants to know a bit about Regens. So here we go. So I have fired up my profile save, which is basically 10 seasons in, and we're going to have a little discussion about Regens. You can see the person I've got right up there. Now this was back in the day that I was renaming my Regens so I could work out who they were. I have gone away from that on my proper games. So Roy Keane Regen. So firstly I'll just show you that his name isn't Roy Keane. Jason O'Shea is his name, and I renamed him R Keane, and I put an R before it to stand for Regen, but I don't do that anymore. This is just purely for the benefit of this video. So how do you know a Regen who he is? Now there's certain players that you will work out who they are immediately. Now I'm on the ODB here, so I've just fought someone, and we're going to go for it right now. Any ideas who I'm going to look for? And he's not there. Okay, who was I looking for? Let's look at the B squad, see if he's there. No, look at the under 21s, and he's not there. I'm looking for Mark Hughes. Mark Hughes Regen. Now, you all know who Mark Hughes is, defensive midfielder / striker. So, realistically, he shouldn't be that difficult to find. If he's made it into the Welsh squad, then he shouldn't be that difficult. But sometimes, I don't know, maybe he's not, maybe he's regened and regened again, and we're in the process. Let me try that. Okay, let's do it like that. Nope. I can't do it, can I? Alright, okay. No, I can't do it. Okay. I thought I could write Welsh in. Obviously not. So, forget about Mark Hughes. Let's go back to Roy Keane. I thought I'd be able to find him, to be honest with you, but clearly not, so fuck him. Let's go back then to Roy Keane. So, when you get a player arrive in your team from the youth academy, now the bottom line is, right, that youth academy is a regen of someone. He is a regen of someone. And I should point out, right guys, this is a real bugbear of mine. There's a lot of people out there there's a lot of ways out there, shall I say, you can alter how regens come through. They can come through a lot more overpowered. I personally disagree with it. I'm against it. And there's nothing worse, right, than when I see a post and someone says, look at this fucking regen, and he's got all these bastard 20s, and if they've got it uncapped at 20, you've got 25 passing, 35 finishing. And I just think, fuck right off. That's not natural, because there are things within the Nix patcher that you can have your regens and your pre-gens come through a lot stronger. I'm totally against it, so don't fucking show me it. So, if I get a defensive midfielder come through and he's Irish, you will get, by the way, you will get the Irish and the Welsh come in at British teams, because a regen will go back to his country. You can change that on Patcher, so you could have, so let's say Roy Keane, he might regen in Italy. You can change it that it's done on the reputation of the country. I don't like that. I don't agree with that. I would rather Roy Keane regen in Britain. I'd rather Maldini regen in Italy, and so on and so on and so on. So, there are 4 attributes that don't change or shouldn't change from a regen perspective. Now, I don't want to confuse you here, but these 4 attributes are aggression, you can see, 20, which doesn't surprise me. Balance, which is 17. Bravery, which is 20. And flair, which is 12. Also, his preferred foot will not change, and also his position will not alter. Now, you can see, if I was to play this game for another 15 seasons, this Roy Keane was to retire, he would be regened with those identical attributes that I've just pointed out. Now, I should point out, if I start a brand new save on the ODB, those key attributes that won't change might differ slightly. So, I've done this, and people have done this, we write down the key attributes that don't change, but they sometimes change from save to save. Within a save, they don't change. So it's really important that you know that. Now, when they regen, the other attributes, you know, they can be quite varied. They tend to follow suit, and turn into the sort of player, or look like the sort of player that their pre-gen is, like Roy Keane. You can see he's only 19. But sometimes it just don't work, and we've had this so many times in the future where regens are just shit, and you buy them thinking, let's say for example you buy a Uruguayan central defender, you're thinking that's Paulo Montero. Even if you can or you can't prove it's Montero, you know it's probably Montero, and you don't bother. You don't bother taking any sort of like, or you're happy to take the risk, but then he just doesn't perform, and it happens a lot. But you've got to remember, right, Roy Keane, like every player, at the start of the ODB, they all have a current ability, CA for short, and a PA, potential ability. Now, let's say his PA it's maxed at 200. Let's say his PA is maxed at about, I know who we'll take for example on this. I know exactly who we'll take for example on this, for what I'm talking about, is Batistuta. Batistuta's PA, I think, is 200, which is maxed. Now, if I was to, not that I would look in the editor, but if I was to look at a save editor or whatever, it would not tell me. It would say his PA is 200, but his CA is probably, I don't know, 170 odd. They don't always reach their PA, and that's why they don't always perform like their pre-gen does. Now, Batistuta, he's a good example of what I'm saying. They changed from save to save, because on my 3-man game with Matt, his balance is 15 and not 16. I should point that out. That is a fact. So originally the 3 main attributes I always referred to for a regen is balance, bravery, and flair. But it is actually aggression as well, just so you know. But predominantly balance, bravery, and flair. So I would say something like 16, 17, 18, which are his balance, bravery, flair. But like I said, on my 3-man game, it's 15, 17, 18. Now then, this next bit is very, very important, and I don't know I doubt this guy's in the game actually, because I've fired up the game, which is 10 seasons in. I wanted to look for Veron, and the reason I wanted to look for Veron, in mine and Matt's game, Matt found a Veron regen. Well, he found a regen, and it turned out to be Veron, but he was Spanish. But as we know, Veron is Argentine. Now, you're asking, well, how does that work? Now, I'll explain how that can work. Okay, I'll explain how that can work, and I'm trying to find a player who might have it. I want to try and get somebody. Let me go. Right, I'm Rio Ferdinand, maybe. No, Rio Ferdinand. I'm looking for somebody who has obtained a second nationality. So basically, when a player is in a country for X amount of time, now when they're in England, they've got to be in England, I believe, for 5 years. After 5 years, they then gain English nationality. So, particularly with a non-EU, so if you brought Maxman Sigalko, and he's in England for 5 years, he gains national status, I think January, and then he becomes you haven't got a worry about him being a non-EC, and you know, it just gets a lot easier. And then, or if you found somebody at an English team who's gained English nationality, you don't got to worry about work permit and stuff like that. But the problem about this is, we'll take Rio Ferdinand for argument's sake. Okay, now it's different in different countries for how many years they've got to be there before they gain that status. So Ferdinand, let's say hypothetically it's 3 years in Holland. Let's just pretend. 1 more year, he will become a second nationality of Dutch. Okay? And what will happen is, and then he retires. Now I believe, don't quote me on this 100%, but this is what I'm talking about my game on with Matt with the Veron. He could regen as Dutch. Because he's got a nationality of Dutch. You can't have more than 2 nationalities. I should point that out, obviously. So it can be really. You could play a game right 50 years in, and you're looking for Rio Ferdinand, and you're like, well, where the fuck is he? He's regened as Dutch, and you're looking at England. Now the problem is, right, he will regen as Dutch, but not Dutch/English. He'll regen as Dutch only. It's one or the other. And the shit thing about that, right, is as you play further generations, further regens, he may, in his regen, he may have 5 years in Brazil, right, and gain Brazilian nationality status, and then regen again as a Brazilian. I think that's how it works. In fact, I'm sure that's how it works. because it took me a while to work it out with the Veron regen and how that worked, because I thought it'd be Brazilian, not Brazilian, sorry, Argentine, sorry, slash Spanish, but he was just Spanish, and I was quite adamant that this was definitely Veron. I mean, I started doubting. I thought, does he start the game with dual nationality? And of course he don't, because he's a non-EU for Man United. Let's have a look at Steven Gerrard. Yeah, he's only fluent language. I want to try and find somebody that might... oh, fuck. Didn't mean to do that. I wanted to find somebody... Yeah, no one... No, I'm trying to find anybody. Klomp, maybe? No. Someone that's... oh, well, West Brown, no. Chivu, maybe? Aha! Aha! Perfect example! Right, and this is because I bought him. So, Christian Chivu... Romanian, is a non-EU, but you can see he's now got second nationality of Dutch, and we'll work out exactly why. So he starts at Ajax. Now, he obviously stayed at Ajax for so long before moving. I don't know how long you've got to be in Holland before getting Dutch nationality. Now, interestingly, this is very common with Viduka. When you start a game at Leeds, they take into account how many seasons he's already been at Leeds on his history. So that will be the case with this as well. So as you can, well, there we go. So he was there in 1990. So at some point, I would guess it's about 5 years. Some of them are 7. Some of them are really difficult. Don't underestimate a regen when he comes through. I mean, I'm very quick to just think he looks like a sack of shit and fuck him off. So I'll give you an example now on something, right? I'm a little bit of a fucking geek. I ain't gonna deny that. I'm a little bit of a geek, and I have wrote down somewhere my ODB stats. Now, I've got ODB stats that I've wrote down, and as I said, I've wrote the balance, bravery, and the flair. So let's take for example now then. Paul Ince, for example, I've got 16, 19, 10. Not that Paul Ince was a great player in this game anyway. Beckham, 16, 12, 17. Scholes, 17, 18, 16. Shearer, so 16, 18, 10 I've wrote down for Shearer. 16, 18, 10. 16, 18, 10, there you see. Who else did I have? Well, I've got loads in front of me. I'm just thinking if I've got anybody here that I can go straight to. Okay, Bergkamp, 19, 10, 18. Let me go on. 19, 10, 18 for Bergkamp. 19, 10, 18. So, it's very, very important that you probably make a note of these. And I mean, 9 times out of 10, you can work out. In all fairness, you can work out who they are roughly. But as I said, let's go back to the very start now then. Let's look for Mark Hughes regen. How should we look for Mark Hughes regen? Oh, that's why. Fuck's sake. Right, we're looking for Mark Hughes regen. We know he's... Oh, no. No, that's... Yeah. He's a defensive midfielder, isn't he? Right, we're going to find him now. We are going to find him. There he is! There, and I've actually already got him on my shortlist. There you go. Right, Mark Hughes regen. Defensive midfielder slash striker. So why ain't he in the Welsh... Oh, there you go. That's why. That's why he's not in the Welsh squad. So Mark Hughes regen. And he would be quite easy to locate if you were looking in the Welsh squad. I'll tell you what, I've got another one. Bulgaria. Stoichkov. And if I've pronounced that incorrectly, go fuck yourselves. I think Bulgaria, isn't it? And I think he's a forward as well. I've not even got his attributes down. And see, I don't even know that that's him, but that's got to be Stoichkov, isn't it? Let's see if I've got him on my shortlist. Yes, I have. So I have already looked for him. So certain players, you know, and I'll give you one more if he's retired out the game. And I've just got this player on my 3-man game. If it goes through, yeah, this is quite an easy player to find regen-wise because of his position. There aren't many Dutch players who are defensive midfielder, forward, left. Wilfred Boomer. So you can sometimes find them without the need of the balance, bravery, flair. But you've got to think to yourself, right? with a regen, you won't always find them on player search. You'll only find, as it states right up here, the famous players in the region. If you want to look for Wilfred Boomer specifically, you could either manually go to all the fucking Dutch clubs, which is probably the most effective way, but it's also the bitch-ass longest. Alternatively, you could send a scout out to Holland. I send my scouts out to clubs sometimes. I tend to do it to countries. I think countries you get a better perspective. I think it's been so long since I played this game as a save. This was my original 7-up save. And there you see, I think I brought Adams over at Hanover. Is that the Roy Carroll? Shit. Deportivo. I think. Oh, I know what it was. These are my former clubs. That's what it was. They were my former clubs. I wondered why I chose Hanover. So yeah, that is region then, guys. And if you've got any input on that, anything I might have misinterpreted or got wrong, let me know. Or if you've got any tips, then add it in the box right down there. You know, I think regen's a really interesting part of the game. I said to you about players that don't perform as a regen. Montero, particularly on my freeman game, is a good example. He's a fucking arsehole. He's such an arsehole, Montero. But it can be very difficult to get a player on a regen. Now, if a player has just moved to a club, let's say Defensor Sporting, then let's say Montero has just arrived at Defensor Sporting as a regen, you won't get him season 1, or you won't get him initially. Now, one other thing I will point out very, very quickly. So when you get a player coming into your youth academy, he'll always be under 20 years of age, 19 and under. And he will be a regen of a player. Now then, Montero, or anyone for that matter, or when AI get a regen, it ain't necessarily an under 20-year-old. So an example on this is on my freeman game with Pep and Ian, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, he was regen once, and he was a 23-year-old, and he appeared at some AI club, but he was 23, but you won't get a regen come through at 23. Now remember, guys, what you can do is you can send your scouts to go and look for youth, you know. Now, again, don't quote me on this next thing, but when they come back, they'll bring youth players. Now, I think the youth players that they bring in, I think, are pre-gens, which basically means they're not regens of players. I think that's the case. The youth players that arrive here, right, are not regens, and that I can categorically point out. That is definitely something on the next patcher where you can increase pre-gens, which are from the youth players. You can increase that to a much higher standard. But truth be told, I'm totally against it, and I think anyone that does that should be skinned alive, and it should be streamed for everybody to see. That's my honest opinion. And that's it from me, guys, on Regens. And if you want any videos doing on CM, even if it's something I've done before and you want a rerun of it, let me know. I am thinking about doing another one for connecting to a network game for those people that are just starting out. Till next time from me, guys, take it easy.